Hello, everybody, and welcome to this first roundtable on public toilet equity. We are gathered here today to talk about toilets. Thank you to everybody who has joined us. I'm really excited to kick this off today in a what I hope in the spirit of kind of a casual but very engaged in discussion with people gathered here from all over the world who are interested in this issue. I became interested in the issue of public toilets simply by, lived experience of realizing, and I will get into this later with my brief presentation, realizing a kind of actual trauma I have developed around public toilets, living in so many communities where there was no access. So facing the situation of deciding whether to have a cup of coffee in the morning, whether before I take my kids to the park or not, knowing that I might not be able to find a toilet, or if I did, it might not be clean or safe feeling. And I've accepted that in so many communities I've lived in. I've accepted it and not really questioned it. And now I'm ready to talk about it. And it seems like a lot of people are. And I think, as Karen and I both know, once you open the door to this topic, you realize, wow, this is an issue and a problem in cities all over the world. And a lot of people are very excited to talk about it because it seems like such a basic amenity, such a basic civic amenity that's also so critical for public health is just absent in so many of our communities. So I'm really happy to start this, to host this roundtable as what we're planning as the first in the series. We will be meeting again this Friday, be Saturday. I'm in Warsaw, so we're on CET time. And my co-host, Karen, is in Perth. So we've had some interesting time zone planning for these roundtables, and we will continue to plan in a way to hopefully accommodate people in many different time zones. This graphic is a bathroom in Perth. So credits to Karen for this fantastic graphic that we've been using to promote the roundtables. And please, if you are listening, if you are present and you know people that will be interested, please feel free to share the video after we publish from this roundtable. Please feel free to spread the word, invite people to the series. We'll be promoting it on Pedestrian Space via our channels, and we really welcome people to come and share their viewpoints. Everybody's affected by this issue, and there's a lot of viewpoints to take care of and a lot of issues of inclusion that we really need a lot of different people at the table to cover that. So please, if you're listening, welcome, get in touch with us, write to info@pedestrianspace.org. And very briefly, I've been reading some great articles. I will mention one by Claire Greed, Gail Ramster, and Joanne Bouchard, How Inclusion Can Exclude the Case of Public Toilet Provision for Women. I learned of a phrase in this article, in this paper, civic sanitation awareness. And I would like to think that's exactly what we're all doing here today in our own ways, cultivating civic sanitation awareness individually, collectively. So I'm really happy to start this dialogue. So thank you. Karen, welcome. Thank you for being my co-host too.
I'm really glad to find someone else who wanted to talk about this and make space for this. It's really nice to see everyone here, and I'm looking forward to these conversations. I'm interested in gendered experiences of cities and also equity and inclusion more broadly, the right to the city. And I'm interested in whether cities welcome everyone, meet everyone's needs, and offer all of the sort of social and sensory delights of being in public space. And I think toilets are pretty central to some of that stuff, because if you're not having your basic needs met out in your city, then you can't stay out in public space. So that's pretty central to my interests. And also, I'm also interested in active mobility. So if you're moving around using your feet, as many in our network are, or riding a bike, then it helps also to know where public facilities are. So that's my interest. And I think we wanted to now just ask everyone just to briefly say where they're from. and their name, and then we'll go into a group discussion in a moment. And I think, Annika, you've got something to show before that, right?
I have a little presentation of my own. I don't know if others have, but it's just a brief slideshow. So I can wait until we've all gone around and then do the brief slideshow.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I'd like to just hear everyone's voices. David, do you want to start? You're clockwise on my screen.
Okay. Hi, Karen. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm David Hunter. I'm from Edinburgh, Scotland. I'm involved in the local Living Streets group, which I'm the convener of, which is a kind of walking campaign. We just had our annual general meeting last night. And I've got a particular interest in disability and accessible travel. And I think the interesting thing about toilets, in a way, is how many sort of equality issues there are around them for women, older people, children, disabled people, all especially, I think, disadvantaged or discouraged from going out, as you say, from lack of toilets. So that's why I'm here and looking forward to the event. Thank you.
Alison, would you like to say hello next?
Great, yeah, thanks. My name is Alison Phillips. I'm originally from the United States, but I've been living in Madrid, Spain for the past 13 years. And I am interested in this topic. I'm an active mobility planner, but I'm interested in this topic just, I think on personal experience as a mother. I've been out and about in parks and just had to leave because there's no public toilets available, or you see children and parents, you know, having to use nature's facilities when it's not very comfortable or convenient. And so I that from that perspective, and also just from being in the city, like I had a, you know, visual map of like, you know, public toilets where you can use, like kind of in my head, especially when you're pregnant, where you're really like really important. So I think it's, yeah, definitely an equity issue, and it's a frustrating thing as a woman and a mother not to have that access, you know, in more spaces. So I'm interested in this topic. So thanks for organizing this.
Great. Hello, Monica. You appeared like an angel. You're very well lit. Would you like to say hello next?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Monika. I'm from Warsaw, Poland, and I'm a journalist and working now on a topic of space inequalities regarding caregivers and mothers. I'm a mother of a baby, so that's because of my lived experience. And part of my latest research is about public toilets in Poland in general. So that's why I'm here. And one of the interviews I've made is with Isa Despera, who is with us and who give me a great insight in this topic.
Great, thank you. That's a good connection.
I think that now I should say something, how I joined you. Monica told me about this meeting and your group. And I'm a sociologist, social journalist sometime. I'm an expert in equality policies here in Poland, which is a bit difficult because equality policies do not exist. That is why my impact is well, rather doesn't happen at all. But I was working for our town hall, city hall of the city of Łódź, which is the third city in Poland, on the diagnosis of inequalities in the city. And one very strong result, one of many results, but very important, was the need for public toilets. And in the meantime, I found out that At the moment, in my city, which is over 500,000 people, there is no public toilet at all, or there is one or two. So this topic is extremely important for me. Also, I have some personal experiences as everyone. I have experience of the grandmother and so on. I'm also a guide, a local guide, and I also have problems with guiding tours because participants should visit a toilet, but there is none of them. So I decided to use my expertise and your expertise to plan what should be done here in Poland, and I'm going to prepare a sort of strategy and try to promote it. So last thing about me, I'm also a member of many activist feminist groups in Poland, and one of them is an expert one, which is situated within the office or cooperating with the office of ombudsperson. And my first idea of my strategy so far is to bring this topic to ombudsperson and work on it and try to find political tools to solve it.
Wow, thank you. It's great to hear the agenda and strategy for addressing this so advanced there. Thank you, Isabella. It's good to hear your thinking.
So once again, I apologize for disappearing from my video, but my internet connection is not very good.
We understand. Mohammed, would you like to say hello?
Oh, yes, definitely. But first of all, do you have my voice without any interruption? Because I'm living in Iran and, you know, the internet connection is not stable here. So do you have my voice?
We can hear you, and I think we can understand most things. So yeah, thank you for checking.
Okay, so good. So my name is Mohammed Deepa. I'm a normal student, master's student, and my research, I haven't done any research about public restrooms. So I'm interested about learning about this topic and how it's important about, you know, sustainability and promoting working people. So I'm here to learn. I don't have anything to share with you, unfortunately, but if you ask for other topics, I'm really open for that.
Great. Thank you, Mohammed. Nancy, we see your name. Are you there?
Hi, yeah. I hope I'm audible. Right, yeah. Hi, I'm Nancy, and I'm a research scholar. I come from the one of the southernmost states of India. So we are a million-plus city, but still we do lack a lot of facilities on the metropolitan side. So my research topic and my research area is predominantly urban mobility, and yeah, that's about that. Because people don't walk here or move anywhere, use non-motorized transport for the most part because of the lack of facilities, and they just choose to drive a car where you know, it's not really feasible to use cars, but it kind of becomes a necessity. So that's kind of what my research and my study is about. So hello to you all.
Thank you. Hello. Could you tell us the name of your city?
I live in Madurai.
Thank you. So Annika, do you want to go now? You have something to show us?
Yes, hold on one second.
Okay, it sounds like you're busy. Annika has two kids she's looking after, and she's away from home. So we're lucky that she is still here. And I thought that her backdrop was a painting in her house, and now I know it's not, because she's in a hotel. I didn't catch the name of the city, Isabella, where you are. Could you tell me that while we wait for Annika? she needs to help one of her children go to the bathroom. So that's
Yes,
entirely
the name
apt.
of my city is Łódź, which is very difficult to write. So I will. So in English, it is usually transcribed LODZ. So I'll write this in the chat.
Okay, thank you. And yes, I see Mohammed says Isfahan. Great. Okay, so well, while we wait for Annika to be back, I'm just going to, if you may not be able to see chat before you join, so I'm just going to repost. I've got a link to a Jamboard here, which is like a digital whiteboard in case you haven't used it before. If you just you don't have to do this, it's not essential to our activities today, but it might be useful for us. If you just copy the link and into another browser window, you should be able to open that and see a horrible collage I made just before this call of photographs I've taken of toilets. And there's a couple of blank pages there. And if I'll just go in myself so I know what I'm saying. You should see a little menu with icons on the left, and you can make a text box or you can make a sticky note. So maybe while we wait, you would just like to choose any one of the slides after the first one, which you can navigate to with the arrows at the top of the screen. There's a few sort of prompts there, and you can maybe have a little practice of making a sticky note and popping it on there. Oh, not working for me now. It's not ideal. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to make a little test note and let me know if you can see this. I've put it on the second of the pages, which I've got to with the arrows. So if anyone else wants to go in there and just have a little test of it, maybe drop your thoughts while we wait. And if Annika's gone for too long, we might, I wonder, maybe you could tell me, did anyone, maybe just put your hand up, did anyone do the mapping exercise that we suggested in your own city? I think Annika sent it out. No? Okay, well, maybe if everyone, she may not have sent it to everyone if some people joined last minute. So, well, then maybe it's a good exercise now to just go into that Jamboard if you can. Is there anyone who's having trouble accessing it?
Well, I think I have a problem. I don't know, maybe it's due to my connection, place I live.
I'm able to access it, Karen, but I don't see where you click to do the post-it notes.
All right, let me just make sure I've got the settings correct and everyone can edit and all of that. Oh no, I've got you as viewers, that's why. Okay. What about now, Alison? Can you see it?
Here, let me just refresh and see if it.
I can see it, but I cannot edit it. I send you a request for editing.
Yeah, now I just refreshed and now I think I can add. So
you can, yeah. Sorry, I just had the settings wrong. I haven't used the tool for a while.
Maybe try refreshing if
you should be able to now if you refresh your, yeah, I'm seeing some there. So while we wait, there's an opportunity to contribute what's right in your city or what's wrong in your city. And there's another couple about your positive and negative associations with public bathrooms, because we do want to hear particular experiences from your cities. So if you can go in there now and have a look while we wait for Annika to return and show us what she has to show us. Anyone not able to edit there now?
Again, do you want us to put the names of our cities with our post-it notes, or does it matter?
Say that again, Alison.
I just wrote a post-it note, but then I wondered, should I put my city's name on that too, or does it matter? Let's see.
It's up to you.
Okay.
We're really just, trying to make a space to begin the conversation today. So yeah, we haven't been terribly precise in the format. And I wonder, so we did talk about going for a walk in our cities. Does anyone want to share an experience either in a familiar or an unfamiliar place in their city of access when walking? You could just put your hand up and then unmute yourself. Alison, you've been living in Madrid for a while, right?
Yeah.
And when you walk in your neighborhood, are there places for you to go to the toilet that are easy to access or not?
Like public free toilets, you mean? Or just any toilets?
Well, anytime, if you could talk to us about the difference, that would be good.
Well, the most part there's not. There's a library, so that has some free public toilets there. And there's a large park, and that also has like one and it's quite far away from everything else. So if you're in one part of the park, you have to go kind of a long ways. But it is pretty nice in the one sense because it's like has a glass wall, and so it's a glass wall that's the glass is, you can't see through it, but I don't know, it just makes it feel like lighter and more safe, I guess. But other than that, if you're in the kind of more where the residential and business area, you would have to use a business's toilet, and pretty much you're expected to buy something, if you use their toilet. And so I've had, emergencies with my kids where I've had to, ask, can we please use these toilets really quickly? And sometimes they're nice about it, and other times they're like, they expect you to I don't know, buy anything basically. So
yeah, okay. So yeah, some barriers there. Yeah. Annika, you're back. Hello.
Yes, hello. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Would you like to show us what you're going to show us, or should we continue with a bit of a discussion?
Sure, I can go through my slideshow briefly. Okay. Okay, does it look okay? Okay, and I want to say
I can see it.
You can see it. Okay. I want to mention this is my personal experience, and it's been very enlightening to, for example, have become acquainted with Monica, who is also in Warsaw in Poland. I've been in Poland for just over a year now. Excuse me. And Monica, I hope you don't mind me sharing this story, but Monica and I recently had a chat because she's writing, a book on public toilets. So she's serving many women here, and she thought my perspective was interesting because I have this kind of like really positive stories to share about public toilets. But I think this is where we can really talk about, okay, there's the individual experience and there's the collective reality that no, there's not. So even if my perception is that, wow, the public toilets here seem clean and great and accessible, there's still issues. And this is where I guess the spectrum of discourse and having many people represented at the table is so important. So I'll just share my own experience here, knowing that this does not represent the collective reality and there are still issues in Poland. That's the disclaimer. So here is a public toilet in Jordana Park in Krakow. This was, I lived in many other cities in the USA, Sweden, Germany, and in Poland. I think this moment at this particular bathroom was when a little light bulb went off, and I thought, oh, there's something different going on here. Can you see my arrow? Do you see my arrow moving? Yeah, okay, here, this is a toilet office, and maybe later after Monica or Isabella can talk a little bit about these toilet offices, because I just don't have the historical context, but it seems pretty interesting and there's a lot there. So there's somebody working in there for the entirety of the open hours, which is probably like, I don't know, 8 to 7 p.m. or something. And they're continuously cleaning. So the bathroom is clean and you go in and there's probably rarely ever, there's no toilet paper or, kind of a mess. So there's somebody that's continuously staffed there. So I find this very interesting, and I'm hoping in future roundtables to get somebody from perhaps Warsaw municipality. Monica shared some good names with me, or another municipality. I know Isabella is pointing out the situation in Łódź with lack, even welcoming people from municipalities where there is a lack, but there is a history to be told with these toilet offices. So I'm looking forward to exploring that more in a future roundtable. Let me keep moving. So this particular bathroom, it does cost money. That's rare here, I think. This one is 2 zloty, which it's change. I don't know if it's about 45 euro cents or so. But I remember on this day, I had my daughter with me. She's got to go. You got to go, and you're in a park, and it just felt great to find a clean, accessible bathroom. And I thought, okay, there's something going on with these toilet offices. This is a different part of toilet culture I've never seen before. Fast forward a few weeks, and I was in a small town near the village we lived in southern Poland. And despite having encountered this, I realized, I think this was the moment I realized some trauma I had developed around public toilets, because I was in the main square of this town with my daughter. She had to go. You know how it is. You got to get to the bathroom. I asked a cafe, can we use your bathroom? They said, no, we don't have one. Go to the public toilet right there. It's underground. And I thought, oh my God, oh my gosh, an underground toilet at a main square, it's going to be like terrible. I was scared about it. My daughter has to go, so we go. And of course, main issue here is access. This is completely inaccessible for anybody with physical disabilities that can't descend stairs, right? I had to leave the stroller upstairs, but there is an issue with access here. However, also I want to point out some good things. I'll really quickly here, I made a little word association map. This is when I realized I have a negative association with public toilets in other cities I lived in, having routinely experienced lack of access, poor conditions, lack of access, not often, just can't find one. There's just not one around. Poor conditions, not clean, lack supplies, feels unsafe, health-wise unsafe, maybe so dirty it feels unhygienic, or maybe physically unsafe. So here we are back at this toilet. I thought, oh my gosh, but my girl's got to go. So down we go, and here we go inside. There's paintings on the wall, and for all the toilet nerds here, I guess you could appreciate this. It's just a clean, decent bathroom, and I thought, this is the underground bathroom. I mean, I was expecting graffiti on walls, no toilet paper, just terrible conditions. So this is where, and there's a toilet office right to the right here. There's a toilet office, and a lady working who was very perplexed by me because I was like doing a photo shoot here, like taking loads of pictures. I think she found this very strange. So I began developing a more positive association with public toilets here. I will say I can find somewhat regularly experiencing, not always, somewhat regularly. I can usually find a bathroom. Public toilets not as difficult to find as in cities I've previously lived in. More importantly, they're usually clean so far. I'm sure I will come across some that aren't, but a lot of them have these toilet offices. For me, they generally feel safe, and they're generally free. Again, I've had only experience in a couple of Polish cities. I'm in Poznan right now, so I will go on a little toilet tour later and report back maybe on Friday. And so here, I've just started. Everywhere I go, I have to go check out the public toilet if I see it. In the metro station, again, in the past, I would not ever want to go in a toilet in a metro station due to negative experiences, but they have, there's a budget clearly for regular maintenance and cleaning. And of course, as we all know, as we're getting into the rabbit hole of issues with toilet equity, attention and mindfulness about different users is so important. Experiencing bathrooms and city space broadly during different stages of life, inclusiveness issues for many different types of people that we want to explore in this roundtable series. Toilet offices. I will put the call out there for anybody who has good references for historians on toilet offices, either here or elsewhere. I think it would be great to welcome them in the future. And to I wonder, Monica and Isabella, if as you are both Polish and in Poland, I don't know if that's quirky for you to hear this presentation, because I know there's more critical angle to take too, because there are still equity issues. And as Isabella, I appreciate that she noted out that in Łódź, there's a serious problem with access. So I try to be mindful of this as well, remembering that my experience, of course, doesn't reflect necessarily the collective reality, and there's still problems. So I should never convey like, oh, everything's great here. But my trauma has reversed here. I do want to emphasize that, and I'm grateful.
Annika, but I think that's really great what you are saying, and and I think that's a common psychological mechanism that we see what we lack, but it's hard for us to see what we have here. So the things I see as a lacks in Poland is like poor spatial information. We have these toilets, but it's hard to find them. So unless you ask someone, or unless you make a big research, where is the toilet, you cannot find it. That's one thing people told me when I asked about mothers, in fact, because I asked mothers about their experience. That's what they said, that when you are with a baby, it's really hard to go around searching for this toilet, and it might be really, really bad, even if there is a toilet. That's what they said. But it's good to hear someone saying, guys, but you have these toilets here. Maybe it's hard to find them, but it's not the situation. You have to really frustrate your basic needs. After all, you can find it. There are some lacks, but they are there. I'm not sure if I can speak more about it now. So maybe I will finish, but I wanted, because I can hear you repeating that I'm here only 1 year, and maybe it's only my experience. It's so valuable what you are saying.
Thank you, Monica. And David Hunter, I don't know if David Hunter's question, are there any reliable apps that show where the toilets are? Maybe this is a question for everybody here, but Monica, there is an app, right? When I've been talking about this issue on LinkedIn and Instagram, people have mentioned the app. I pulled it open the other day. I don't speak Polish. I'm in Polish class, but it's going slow. So the app is sort of tricky, but it does show, for example, library bathrooms, and of course, bathrooms in the mall are sort of public here. You can go in the mall and use the bathroom, as well as these like municipal public bathrooms. But I don't know if you want to share anything about the app. I forgot the number, Monica, and what you think of the app here.
We have the app. The app was created because of it is a project from participatory budgeting. It means that someone just told the city hall it should be done, and the city hall done it, but it's really not perfect. When I checked this app with my area, it showed places like public libraries, which is okay, although my experience was that I went to one of these libraries and I was told I cannot use the toilet if I'm not a user of this library. So it's not really, this app is not really accurate, and it didn't show, Annika, it would interest you, the app didn't show the toilets in the subway station, in metro, and the service-free built toilets in parks. So the data is really poor, not I think someone just gathered some basic data and didn't even check it before putting it to the application. So we have the app, but it's not really useful and it is not promoted. I think I know about it because I researched this topic, but it's not useful and it's not well known by people. And there is not enough spatial information, meaning, you know, just the information in the public spaces, like where to go to find the toilet.
Annika, am I able to share screen as well? Yeah. So I might just, I think that's, Monica, yeah, there's something I've also been thinking about, and it's interesting what you say about that app being updated centrally or not updated, you know, the data being loaded centrally, because obviously that's not going to last. Even if it was accurate when it was uploaded, it's not necessarily going to be accurate forever. And in trying to make my own map, just of my journey, and in encountering other people, because I live in a very isolated city, in a very isolated country, I spend a lot of time in familiar places, but having traveled recently in Europe, I think that's part of what piqued my interest about when you're in an unfamiliar place, and obviously things are different. I was in the Netherlands and you have to pay for toilets and the provision is quite different. But so I've been looking at mapping in Australia, and I'll just share, I have 3 different interfaces up at the moment just to have a quick look at together. And I'll be interested to hear your impressions from where you are. I'm going to share, I think, no, this one. Okay. So do you see a map now, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is OpenStreetMap, which is users can contribute. It's not specifically about toilet mapping, but what fascinated me is that there's a huge amount of detail on here. I don't know if you can see here. I can find out, you know, that I can get a massage here. If you see, there's an icon there. I can find out if I can get my hair cut, or if there's a bike shop here. This is my local shopping centre. There's another hairdresser here. So just a really rich level of detail. And this map also has interest, and I think this is true with a bunch of different online mapping tools. There's different layers. These are this is user generated. Google I also have up here. There's this incredible data richness, but none of it is about toilets, which is fascinating given how often we need to use them. And similarly, can't access the top of my screen now. Hang on a second. Just sorry. I want to go to a different window, but hang on, I'll just stop and start again. Sorry, I'm going to show you one more. So no, actually, sorry, I've lost it. What I did find is another, I can't locate the screen I want to share. Oh yeah, there it is. Just a moment, sorry. So there is a toilet map in Australia. There's a project called the Continents Project, National Continents Program, that other people have told me about, and that's got quite rich data. I'll show it to you in a minute when I get there, but it's really incomplete. So there's lots of toilets in my area that aren't on that map. So again, not a resource that really does the thing that it's supposed to do. So this is it here. And I'll come out a little bit. So if you can see on the left-hand side here, there's an address, there's a distance from where I am, there's information about gender provision and accessibility, and also opening hours. This can be user generated as well, so people can contribute to it. And where I live, so if I come in here, this is my street here, you can see it tells me there aren't any facilities, but there actually are. there are facilities both in parks that are public and in shopping centres and businesses nearby. So I found that quite interesting. So it looks like, you know, I live in a car-based city, but I wouldn't be able to walk to any of the toilets marked on this map. You know, it would be sort of a 30-minute walk, which wouldn't be good in an emergency situation or with a child. So that is intended for this purpose, but doesn't necessarily fulfill it. And just to have one quick look at Google Maps. Again, I just note I can find a museum more easily than a toilet in Google Maps, and I thought that was surprising. And again, there are these, we can look at the different layers, traffic, public transport, cycling, and bushfires. So it's easier to work out in my city or using Google Maps where the bushfires are than it is to work out where the toilets are, which I thought was quite surprising. And I've also had some discussions with local governments about updating information in Google Maps. So you can see, search toilets near me, which I'm sure all of you would have done. But again, the data's missing. So if I go to, it's taking me to another place. Again, in my neighbourhood, it looks like there are no options when in fact there are. So I'm not seeing an icon for, oh, here we go there. So that this red mark here is the, but you have to search it. It doesn't seem to automatically be part of a layer. Perhaps there are options you can select, but the local government people I've spoken to also say that they're not communicating with Google. So there doesn't seem to be a system for keeping the data accurate in any of these interfaces. So perhaps we should hear from others. One of the questions that we posed, that we were talking about in our preparatory stuff was what your city does badly and what it does well. Is there someone who'd like to contribute? Oh, I should stop sharing so that we can see each other just a moment. We haven't heard much from you, David, or Nancy, or Mohammed. Would you like to speak on what the situation is and what you think your city does well or poorly in terms of toilet provision and equity?
Okay, I go first. I think my city is, you know, it's well known for its cleaning and the clean aspect of the city among other cities in Iran. And always people say that there are lots of parks, green spaces, toilets, and you know, facilities to put your garbage on there and so on. So it's well known for its clean aspect. But the point is that when you go to toilets and you see that they're using poor materials and they're dirty and filthy, and if you have just only emergency, you go and use them. And most of the time, people are not really keen to use them because they are, as I mentioned, they're filthy. And some drug dealers are using those toilets because it's a safe place for them. And yeah, so I think that my city is good for providing some public restrooms, but they should be more careful and aware of the situation. For example, provide some toilet management, toilet office, something like that. And yes, any questions? It's very much easier for me to ask questions than I can answer.
Well, then, what about accessibility for people with disabilities? Mohammed, can you tell us anything about that?
Yes, most of them, as I see around the world, I mean around the city, I see that some of them have stairs for disabled people, but most of them doesn't have access for disabled people. There are stairs only And yeah, more and the point is that you can find these kind of toilets which are having access for disabled people in high class areas. And by high class, I mean high residential areas, those places where people are more rich. And those places that parks are having more money to manage parks, facilities, and something like that. So yeah, you can really find some toilets having access for disabled people.
Can I ask,
Thank you.
Mohammed, the toilets, who provides them? Is it the local government?
Yes, it's a local government, municipality. We have just only one government, general government, okay, like federal government and municipalities. So municipalities are at the helm of, providing those toilets.
Right.
And by the way, I have to mention that we're not using paper toilets, we use water. So we don't have a problem with that paper, and only we use water.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it was interesting to hear you talk about uneven provision across the city, depending on the sort of demographic and wealth of an area. That's something that we haven't covered today, but I'm sure other people will have comments on that. Nancy, would you like to tell us something?
Yeah, Karen, because I can much relate to what Mohammed was saying, because we have the same inequality across the city here. The posh areas that you would call, in a city, they do have accessible, I mean, clean toilets, but they're not mostly accessible to people that don't fit in that social profile. So that's never been a problem for me personally. Just as a person has a mother, new mother, when I had to take my kid out, that was not a problem. But I've seen people struggling with that. So in other areas of the city, and the point that I have to notice, the local corporation is tasked with providing toilets and proper pathways, proper water access, and we do have wet toilets. We don't use toilet paper. That's not a thing here. So, but most of the places, they do have the buildings, they do have the toilets, because India is going through something called smart city missions. So it's a huge investment, and we have a lot of development on a lot of areas, city development, but the development is not really coherent or how do I say, inclusive of everyone. But that's another debate though. So the toilets are a part of the smart city mission, and the toilet buildings are provided everywhere. So the positive association that Annika was speaking of earlier, I can relate to the positive association because I was not able to find a toilet before, and here I'm able to see the facility, the building, the proper rampway for the disabled people. Even the elderly can go in, use the facility without any other personal support. So all of this is there, but most of the time there is no water, or there are no lights, or the building is there, but the facility that needs to have it running and usable is not there. And it's very there is no staff member or a complaint number that we can go to. It is a huge process, because the projects get sanctioned on a whole, and it's usually 20 or 30 spots that need to be maintained and repaired and all of that. So a light bulb going out in one particular spot is not going to be fixed anytime sooner. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I don't know if it is a good thing or a bad thing, because outside the city, where there are toll plazas, between cities, the toll plazas, the bathrooms there are very much better than the public ones within the city, where a lot of people need and use. The toll plaza bathrooms outside of the city is so much better, and that was very surprising for me, because the lights are good, the water is good, everything is good, but very few people have the need to access that. So that's one disparity that I've seen here. But as with Annika, the same point, I really dislike going to public toilets, and I don't remember my family being active on any occasion that we'll plan, okay, so there is a toilet, we can use that. A corporation one, no, we don't use that. We either go to the nearby mall or the nearby store or some supermarket or something, and we would get something, some stuff like even for 100 rupees, that's kind of somewhere close to $1 or $2. We buy stuff just to use the toilet in case they wanted to open it up for the non-customers or so, something like that. So that's how it has always been. Because of the smell, it has been a terrible experience, a trauma in my childhood days. So I never go there. And one other thing is, since the public bathrooms are not accessible, I've seen, as a parent, I've seen parents use a lot of disposable diapers. So that is not, that is not in the scope of our debate or on the round table, but the disposable diapers, they contribute to a level of waste that is not processed by the town. And just by sorting out the public bathrooms, the facility of public bathrooms, the accessible and safe bathrooms, we could reduce the need for those diapers and the landfill and the waste generation and everything that would follow. So that's just kind of my observation. I don't know if it has any scientific bearing yet. Thank you.
No, that's really helpful. Thanks, Nancy. Really interesting to see that link to waste generation. One of many things this intersects with, I think. So that's great for you to bring that up. Thank you. And I was also interested, when you were talking about the new developments having built the accessible modern buildings, but then them not being maintained, is that I have two questions for you. One is that a jurisdictional issue that they're then handed over to some other someone else to maintain, and that isn't being done? And my other question was just for you to talk a little bit more about the tall plaza bathrooms, because I didn't quite understand what you meant by tall plaza. If you could tell us more about that.
Yeah, sure. So within the city, the constructions usually go on from the Public Works Department. So we have departments like that, and the Highways Department. So these are the major departments that are responsible for the construction and maintenance of buildings and roadways, basically. So the Public Works Department, they do the buildings, they do the planning and everything. But then the water supply or the lighting, it involves the Electricity Department and the Water Supply Board. So these two people, it's basically, you could call it a brotherly fight or something like that, because one department will not be okay getting orders from the other department. They always have an ego clash. It's always been that way, and it just continues, and that happens. So if one department has completed its part of the work or the project, the other department will take its own sweet time to come and finish it up. So there's never been enough coordination. That's what I was, I mentioned that. The next one, the toll plazas, that we do have toll plazas where they collect toll fees, which we have a fast tag system now in India. So we need to go, from one city to another, we will have to pay a certain amount. And there are usually 2 or 3 tolls between 2 cities. So it's mostly districts, but yeah, cities also count. It depends upon the distance, and whichever company has, built the highway, it will be collecting the toll. So there it is mandatory now to have a functioning bathroom, a bathroom where you can have a bath, where people can change and people can do all the stuff that is related to cleaning up. So it's not just a small toilet that is just accessible for 5 or 10 minutes. It's you can finish up, you can clean up entirely, and it has very good facilities also. So yeah, that is the toll plaza bathroom I was saying about. Yeah.
Thank you, that's clear. Annika, just checking in with you. I was going to ask to hear more from Isabella and David. Shall I do that, or do you want to do something else at this point?
That sounds great.
Okay, well, I think what is your city doing well or bad, well, and what is it doing badly? It seems like quite a good way to get a general report from everyone. So Isabella, we did hear from you before about the lack of provision in your city. Is there anything else you'd like to say about you recognise some things do happen there? Tell us more. I should have checked, Isabella, you're available. Yeah.
Well, my video doesn't work, but I hope that you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Can, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I think that one thing is that public toilets are not public issue, and it's strongly visible on local level. So I'm living in a very big city with policy of no public toilets, and the shops or cinemas or anything like that should be enough. But another thing is that when you leave a city and try to travel, this policy seems to be the only one. So Warsaw, described by Monika, is completely unique thing with public toilets, with a sort of application you can use to look for them. And outside Warsaw, it's I think completely different practice. And the reason for that is, first of all, that those old toilets were not proper, so they are also not accessible for people with disabilities. But nobody decided to build ones, and probably the local authorities also have no proper policies to manage public toilets, so they find a lot of financial problems with that. But I think that it starts from not understanding it as public issue, being something a bit too private, or something you don't talk about in public. And that is why I believe that some information popularization campaigns may be useful to address local authorities.
Thank you. That's very interesting, and it does tie in with the chapter I've just read of Leslie Lowe's book about the history of not talking about these things. And I wondered, when I looked at those mapping interfaces, I really saw that reflected, that we were talking about every other kind of thing that our city could offer in this very modern, sometimes crowdsourced way, but not talking about this thing that we have to do several times a day and everyone has to do, which is it does seem odd and out of proportion. David, would you like to tell us something about Edinburgh?
Excuse me, sure. Just before I do, I was just interested thinking about Nancy's description, particularly that we're kind of all interested in pedestrian activity, that it seems that there's a sort of, if you're worried about the toilet, the best thing to do is to get in your car and go to the toll plaza, or possibly maybe even a shopping mall that you might have to drive to or might be easy to drive to. And this is kind of another way that actually discourages people to be a pedestrian. So that, you know, if you're, like I say, if you're worried about going to the toilet, you might be better off heading towards a shopping mall or something like that, rather than in your own neighborhood, which I think is quite a sort of problematic thing for walking. I was just going to say, okay, trying to see the glass as half full then in Edinburgh. I did have a wee look at Edinburgh's Google Maps and what it said about toilets, and most of the reviews on Google Maps are like two out of 5 at best. So the public kind of reviews of the public toilets isn't great. As with what Isabella just said, I think the local council here, the local authority, really is trying not to. It's struggling to pay the money to keep toilets open and to keep them upkeep. I think what they would like to do also is to encourage people to go to local businesses, cafes, other public institutions, rather than have kind of municipal toilets. But one thing I put a sticky note on the Jam board I thought I'd mention is in Britain there's quite a strong movement, if you'll excuse some of these puns, called Changing Places, which I think is really launched by a couple of very dedicated, very motivated parents of children who got quite profound disabilities. So a Changing Places toilet is an extremely large one where there's lots of space to change not just a baby, but potentially an older child on a sort of folding bed type thing, so that you don't have to put the child on the floor, which could obviously be extremely unhygienic to change them and so on. So I've put a link in on the whiteboard thing. I imagine it's a fairly British thing, but it's got quite a lot of traction. It's something that politicians have sort of, I think, see as a very visible thing that they can do to support the Changing Places movement. To some extent, I think it's slightly distracting from the availability of just everyday toilets, because they're fairly expensive, but they're sort of the sort of thing that politicians like to associate themselves with. So they're a good thing, but I think there's a problem with the kind of just lack of decent toilets in kind of all places in Edinburgh and the UK generally.
Thank you, David. That's very interesting and fascinating to hear about that campaign and to extend that idea of provision for all sorts of different people. I think Annika's talking about assembling some resources and links. Do you want to speak about that? Because that seems relevant. Thank you for the link, David. I see it, and I see all of your stuff in the Jamboard. So it's really nice to see that collection of ideas from all of you. Thank you for contributing to that. Annika, do you want to say some stuff now? I haven't talked about Australian toilets, but I'm conscious we've got 20 minutes to go. So we should probably decide.
Yeah, you should go.
No, well, first I'd like to, I mean, I'm going to have other opportunities to talk to some of you and in our other forum later in the week. So yeah, I mean, there's a particular situation here, but it's probably similar to some other places that are similar spatially or culturally to Australia. But I just wanted to check in because we were going to talk about research. So Annika, maybe do you want to talk about where we might head in terms of sharing information? Because then we could have everyone just say research they're aware of now, but if we had another process or a forum for centralizing that, then we wouldn't have to do that now, and we could talk more. What do you think?
Right, I'm open to suggestions. I will be putting together a page at pedestrianspace.org. I will be putting together a public toilets resource page where I will link to, for example, the YouTube video for this roundtable, for Friday's roundtable, developing a list of resources. For example, I have the book that Karen has referenced, and some articles, anything that comes up that people start sharing in terms of papers, articles, books, just a great resource hub for people that are like, wow, there's this issue of public toilets. Oh yeah, this is a problem and I want to start reading about it. So our own civic sanitation awareness hub. So if I guess everybody here has the pedestrianspace.org email, info@pedestrianspace.org, if you want to send materials that can be included there. as well as suggestions for people that we can welcome as guests, for example. There's so many angles in this. There's so many angles to unpack and to explore and to address with this topic. So I really love to get any good suggestions for people that we can host and welcome for future roundtables.
Yeah, and I'm also quite interested in projects, campaigns and projects, as well as research. I think there's probably a lot of it. I feel like perhaps there's fragmented campaigns all over the world and people having these conversations everywhere, but whether they're being brought together anywhere, and maybe that's a UN Habitat thing to look at. I look a lot about their work in gender, but maybe the researchers in the room could speak about that. What have you discovered is happening around the world, and how might we perhaps feed into that or share information? So I'm thinking maybe Monica, would you like to speak about that?
Sorry, I was focused on Jamboard on.
That's okay. We all split our attention these days.
On what's wrong in our city. So if you repeat the question,
Sure. Yeah, I was asking about thinking about different projects and different research, and whether your sense is that it's fragmented all over the world with people having similar conversations and initiatives in different places, or whether you see that being brought together anywhere, perhaps by the work of UN Habitat or organisations like that. Have you found anything about that, or is your work I understand your interview work is local, but the book you're writing, does it look more broadly? Could you tell us something about that?
No, I don't know much about this this broader international view. In fact, my research is focused on, in lived experience of people, of this certain group of people. In fact, this group living in parks and so on. What I know is that the issue is, we see it in many countries. What I know is from, I know cases described in the books by Criado Perez, or by I don't remember the author of the second book I wrote about it, but. Okay, I know that the issue is all over the world, and what I know is that the issue is even worse in other places. I know that some international agenda are also diagnoses this problem, but that's all I know. I think that also this topic is really local, because the toilets are managed by local governments. So that's the local governments that can fund it. Yeah, that's my insight about this topic. But I also know that this the issue varies in other countries, which also mean that in Poland we have toilets that are for hard to explain it in English for me. But okay, I read about it that in for example in Holland there are toilets only for men. How it is called in English, this toilets accessible for men but not for women.
Yeah, a urinal is the English word, and I think if you look in the Jamboard, I think I've got a picture of one which is from the Netherlands, because I was just there. Yeah, on that first page, yes, on the bottom left is one such place.
Yeah, and I know that they have a fight for this, because they have a public utilities like this urinal, but not the public toilets available for women. I know they had a campaign because there was a woman who was punished by the court by not using urinal to but not using urinal, and there was a campaign. Many women photographed themselves trying to use urinals, which was, you know, funny, because the woman was really punished by the court, which is crazy. So that's the problem we don't have. So I know it varies around the world, and that's why it's really valuable that we have such roundtables like this to compare these experiences from all over the world. So that's my insight in this international topic.
Thank you. That's great. And I realize, Alison, I haven't really let you have a good go about Madrid. So yeah, I was going to make comments, but I'd rather go to you. So tell us.
Okay, well, I won't actually talk too much about Madrid. I think it's pretty similar to everybody's what's mentioned, but I was struck also in the Netherlands. I was with Karen, that's where I met her, is in Amsterdam this past summer. And I learned about those urinals. Like, the history of that is that in the canals, that people would be, like, people be drunk after being at the pubs, and they would try to go pee in the canals, and they would sometimes fall in and drown because they were drunk. And so they started putting these urinals to try to prevent, drownings. But then I was talking to somebody, I said, well, where do the women go? And because, we do have to go to use the bathroom sometimes, no? And they're like, oh, really? Yeah, I didn't think about that. And it was funny because I had heard that also in the Netherlands, that in restaurants, that they were, like, there was some sort of agreement between the municipality and restaurants or shops that they would allow, people to use the bathroom, like, publicly, and that the municipality would, like, reimburse them for, I don't know what amount, but but so I was curious if that really was true, and I was bicycling, like, into this one area, and I needed to use the bathroom, and I went into this restaurant that I had been there previous days before, but that moment I hadn't ordered anything. I wasn't a customer, and the owner was like, "Are you a guest?" And I said, "No, I'm not, but may I use the bathroom?" And he said, "No, our bathrooms are only for guests." And he said it such a condescending way that it's like, I didn't want to be a customer anymore. I might have, if he'd been nice about it, I might have been like, okay, well, I'll buy some water or something. But he was such a jerk about it that I was like, I'm leaving, and it was just frustrating because there weren't any public restaurants anywhere, and I had to basically, bike 20 minutes back to where I was living to find a bathroom. So I just think that I was surprised by that I've had that happen before too, and it seems to be kind of these men that they're like, "Are you trying to use our bathroom?" And it's like, well, yeah. And I don't know what like, if you have to buy something, what's the toll to use the bathroom? Should you have to pay 50 cents? Should you have to pay €1? Or, do you have to buy a whole bottle of water when that'll make you have to go to the bathroom again? Like, so I don't know. So anyway, that's a little, just a personal story, and I don't know, rant.
Yeah, I certainly relate to that. And I guess it's interesting to note as well, like, what might be kind of an undignified experience for you might be something that actually keeps people in their houses because they can't, they can't hold on, or that, there are other reasons why that is such a critical issue to them, because they have a lack of choice or access that's greater than even than what's being imposed on you by a rude restaurateur. So yeah, these things impact in ways that are not always visible.
Yeah, that's also a thing that many people told me while interviewing, that they found this experience humiliating, when you have to go to the restaurant and ask for a key or ask for using a toilet, and they hear you have to order something. One mother told me that, you know, she had some stomach issue, and she needed not only piss but something more, and she wanted to use the toilet, and she was told, you have to order something. And she wrote me, I have to order something when I have a shit flowing out my ears, you know. It's crazy. She found it really, you know, even not humiliating, but traumatic, maybe even. But many people told me, but many other mothers told me that they found it humiliating. And I think it's personal. It depends on on your self-confidence, on your ability to ask people for things. And on the other hand, there are these municipalities that in Poland often claim that okay, we don't need this public toilet so much because we have restaurants, bars, and cafes, and people can use the toilets there. That's what this. I know that many municipalities claim in this way, because there was 10 years ago, there was an audit of the toilets in Poland, and that's what some big cities in Poland told to the auditory institution. Okay, we don't have public toilets, but we are a big city. We have this other places like restaurants, but there is a barrier to use this kind of places. And also for people with experience of poverty, it is hard to use this kind of places, but that's what Isa told me. I have not much insight in this topic, because my topic is mothers mainly. So maybe Isa want to share more insight on it.
Yes, we'll ask Isabella if she's there to speak. David, I hear that you have to go. Please keep in touch with us, because we think this conversation is going somewhere, and it's just the beginning of it. So thank you for being here. Isabella, did you want to comment?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm traveling to my university. I'm starting my lecture soon, but yes, I am still with you. And well, I think that what I could add, it's not only the question of poverty, but it's also the question of lifestyle, of class, of distinction. So not only poor people are not used to going to restaurants, as they are also extremely expensive. In my city, they are situated only on one street. So there is one main street called Piotrkowska Street. But for example, in my district, which is Bałuty, the biggest one, there are few restaurants and no toilets at all in my area, which is nearly the city center. So the only I can use is shopping center, but they open it only at 10. So sometimes it's difficult. But another thing I had witnessed is the problem with restaurants when you don't speak Polish, or you speak Polish with an accent, or it's visible that you are a migrant person. And this is really problem with offering people to use shops, libraries, medical centers, and so on. And in case of my city, I wrote that in the chat before, they decided to have toilets in restaurants, to have special agreements with chosen restaurants, to offer them reductions in rent or something like that, to make their restaurant toilets public. and there is a sign that there is a toilet you can use. But first of all, it is only in one street, and more than 500,000 inhabitants. And the second problem is that it doesn't work, and a lot of restaurant owners decided not to do that because of I don't know. I can't speak for them.
Okay, thank you, Isabella. That's interesting to hear about. And thanks for staying with us as you move through the city. That's quite exciting. I see that we're coming to the end of our time. So we do have a way to continue to share information by sending to info@pedestrianspace.org, as Annika has said. So that's one way for us to be looking at the same stuff and making a bit of a collection. And we are also going to continue the conversation through this list, through the network. And I guess you all found us that way. Some of you are not in the network formally. Annika, do you want to talk about that and maybe next steps as we close out? But I guess I'll say that I'm glad that you were all here, and we got to have this talk today, and there'll be more like it. And I really hope that you will all be a part of that conversation. And thank you for your contributions today and to the Jamboard. And we'll make something of all of this and keep talking. Annika?
Okay, yes, as Karen said, thank you so much. First, thanks, Karen. I'm thinking back to one of our video chats earlier this year, and how this roundtable series, I'm gonna turn off my video here because I have little ones running all around behind me. How this roundtable series was born, it's just been really exciting, and I feel like we've opened a portal here of just incredibly interesting and really vital discussion on this topic. So I know not everybody here is in the network, the Global Walkability Correspondents Network. If you are curious about joining, please feel free to email me. If you would like to continue getting information about this roundtable series, I would say also please email me or drop your email in the chat here. I will make a note of it and perhaps develop a specific mailing list for this series. I think it's worth it. I think that's I'm really excited to have this as a establish this as an ongoing series at Pedestrian Space. I'm going to let Karen close out. It's getting a little wild over here.
Well, I think we should leave it there. I mean, you know, it is nice to end meetings with, you know, actions. What are we going to do next? But I think we've had such a nice rambling conversation that has just picked up such complexity that it doesn't feel appropriate to do that at this point. So I would just hope that we can all keep in touch. We'll look with interest for the publication of your book, Monica. So please keep us informed about that, and other research, your work too, Nancy and Isabella, your campaign and your strategy. I'm very excited. Please do share that with us. Yeah, is there anything anyone else wants to say before we go? I think Annika and I will stay online for a little while anyway. If you want to just, you know, fade off or chat more, you're welcome.
Thank you for facilitating and organizing this meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. Well, it was fun. Thanks for being here, Alison.
Yeah, great to see you. Okay, bye. Thanks. Nice to meet everyone.